After the crash, the female CEO pretended unconscious. Her single dad assistant's words broke her. The sound of twisting metal and shattering glass tore through the night like a scream that refused to die. Headlights spun wildly, the road vanished, and in a single violent moment, everything the powerful female CEO thought she controlled slipped from her grasp. When the car finally skidded to a broken stop, silence followed, heavy, terrifying silence. In that stillness, she made a decision that would change her life forever. She closed her eyes, slowed her breathing, and pretended she was unconscious, unaware that the man sitting beside her would unknowingly speak the words that would shatter the walls she had spent years building around her heart. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of humanity, take a moment right now to like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps stories like this reach hearts that need them most. The woman in the passenger seat was known to the world as a ruthless, brilliant CEO, a symbol of discipline and control. Her company was valued in the billions, her face appeared on magazine covers, and her name carried weight in boardrooms across the country. Yet inside the crushed vehicle, none of that mattered. Her head rested against the seatbelt, her body aching, her mind racing. She had survived the crash with minor injuries, but fear had flooded her veins faster than pain. Not fear of death, but fear of being seen as fragile, as human. So she stayed still, listening, hiding behind the illusion of unconsciousness. Beside her was her assistant, a quiet single father who had joined the company less than a year ago. He was not powerful, not wealthy, not influential. He was a man worn down by life, balancing deadlines with daycare pickups, sleepless nights with early morning meetings. He had lost his wife years ago and learned to carry grief the way some men carried briefcases, always with them, never spoken about. To the CEO, he was efficient and invisible, just another employee who did his job well enough not to be noticed. To the world, he was no one important. The crash left him shaken, his hands trembling as he checked himself for injuries before turning to her. When he realized she wasn't responding, panic surged through him. His heart pounded as he leaned closer, calling for help that echoed uselessly into the dark road. No cars passed. No voices answered. Just the hum of the cooling engine and the quiet night pressing in. He thought she might be dying, and that thought cracked something open inside him. With no one else around, he did the only thing he could. He stayed with her. He spoke. Not as an assistant, not as an employee afraid of losing his job, but as a man facing the possibility of losing another person he cared about. His voice shook as he spoke about his daughter, about how he promised her every morning that he would come back home. He spoke about how hard it was to raise a child alone, about the nights he cried silently so she wouldn't hear, about the fear of failing her every single day. He apologized to the CEO for not always being perfect at work, for sometimes leaving early, for sometimes looking tired. He told her that working for her had given him stability, a chance to provide, even if she never noticed. Behind closed eyes, the CEO felt something stir in her chest that had nothing to do with the crash. His words wrapped around her, raw and unfiltered. She had spent her life surrounded by polished conversations, rehearsed praise, and calculated loyalty. But this was different. This was a man exposing his soul because he thought no one would ever hear it. And for the first time in years, she felt small, not in power, but in understanding. He continued speaking, his voice breaking as he told her that if she could hear him, he hoped she knew she mattered beyond the company, beyond the numbers. He said the world needed people like her, but it also needed her alive, breathing, human. He admitted that sometimes he saw her sitting alone late at night in her office and wondered if she was lonely too. He said that even strong people deserved someone to care if they came home. Tears slid silently down her temples, soaking into the seat. She kept her eyes closed, terrified that if she opened them, the moment would end, the truth would vanish. She had built her entire identity on never needing anyone, on never depending on kindness. And yet here she was, broken open by the words of the one man she had never truly seen. When emergency lights finally painted the night red and blue, she let herself be found. Paramedics rushed in, voices sharp and urgent. Only then did she allow herself to stir, to be carried away on a stretcher, still pretending she remembered nothing. Her assistant followed close behind, his face pale, his eyes heavy with worry. She caught a glimpse of him before the doors closed, and in that look, she saw fear not for his job, but for her life. The days that followed were filled with hospital walls and quiet reflection. Her injuries healed quickly, but something inside her refused to return to how it was before. She replayed his words again and again, each sentence carving deeper into her heart. For years, she had measured success in profit margins and stock prices, believing vulnerability was weakness. Now she realized how wrong she had been. When she returned to work, the office felt different. The glass walls, the long tables, the hushed respect, it all seemed hollow. She watched her assistant carefully, noticing things she had ignored before. The way he checked his phone during breaks, probably messages from his daughter. The way he stayed late anyway, determined not to be seen as less committed. The quiet dignity with which he carried his exhaustion. She struggled with whether to tell him the truth. Part of her wanted to confess everything, to thank him, to let him know how deeply his words had changed her. Another part feared that acknowledging the moment would shatter the delicate balance between them. So she started with small changes. She began leaving work earlier, encouraging others to do the same. She introduced flexible hours, family-friendly policies, things she had once dismissed as unnecessary. Slowly, the company culture began to shift. Her assistant noticed, though he never said anything. What he did notice was a promotion letter on his desk one morning, along with a note recognizing his dedication not just as an employee, but as a person. The raise meant he could finally move his daughter into a better apartment, enroll her in the school she dreamed of. Gratitude filled him, though he never knew the deeper reason behind her generosity. Near the end of the year, on the anniversary of the crash, she called him into her office. Her heart pounded harder than it ever had in any board meeting. She looked at him and finally allowed herself to see him, not as an assistant, but as the man who had unknowingly saved her. She told him she remembered everything from that night. She told him his words had reached her when she needed them most. She told him that he reminded her what being human meant. He listened in stunned silence, emotion washing over his face. For the first time since his wife's passing, he felt truly seen. Not pitied, not overlooked, but valued. In that moment, the distance between CEO and assistant disappeared. They were just two people, both broken in different ways, standing in the aftermath of a night that changed them forever. As time went on, their lives continued forward, not as a fairy tale, but as something more real and meaningful. She became a leader known not just for power, but for compassion. He became a father who no longer felt invisible, who carried his struggles with a little less weight. And both of them learned that sometimes, the most life-changing moments happen when we think no one is listening. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you of the power of kindness spoken in the darkest moments, please take a second to like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support keeps these stories alive and reaching those who need them. Before you go, we have a special request for you. Comment below and tell us what part of this story moved you the most, or share a moment when someone's words changed your life. Because in the end, it's not the crash that defines us, but the quiet truths we speak when we think no one can hear.